Hi and welcome to Conversations with Robyn. As you know, we've been filming a whole bunch of shows on the Great Walk to Beijing, which is part of the fundraising for Olivia Newton-John's Cancer Research and Wellness Centre. And on today's program, we have someone that is actually very, very dear to my heart, because my favourite absolute program on TV is Survivor, and I've seen every single one of them. In actual fact, and I'm going to blurb on here a little bit, I've often said I would love to be on the Survivor program. So being asked to come and film shows on the Great Walk to Beijing is kind of a bit like a Survivor program. We have Ethan Zohn. Ethan, thank you so much for being part of the program.
My pleasure.
Now, which one of the Survivor programs did you actually win?
I won Survivor Africa, which was filmed in Kenya.
And how was that experience? I mean, we saw on the TV screen,
right.
But how was it behind the scenes, especially when you won?
Well, I mean, obviously winning is just fantastic, but you know what goes into the game was a whole different experience, and a great one at that. You know, the game of Survivor itself is, I think, one of the most perfect games because it touches on you as a person, every part of you, your physical, your mental, your social, your spiritual, and so it's getting through the game and coming out on top was a pretty big challenge, and it felt good to win.
Okay, well, just because, I mean, there's so many questions to ask
right.
you. How did you get to be part of Survivor?
Well,
I want to get on it.
Well, I know. I think the first step is you have to be from the United States.
I know.
So you might not have a chance.
Yep.
But how I got on it? Well, I was actually in between life choices. My mom says that was unemployed. But I was playing professional soccer, and I came to a point in my life where I realized I wasn't going to be the next superstar. And so at that time I was coaching, and I decided on a whim to apply to Survivor kind of as a joke.
Right.
Because I really had nothing else to do that day. And 60,000 people apply for Survivor.
And then when you said, that's a huge number.
It's a huge number, yeah. So you send in a 3-minute video of why you think you'd be good on Survivor, and you fill out an application, and then you just hope for the best. And it worked out. What
did you do in your video?
My video was pretty low budget, but I based it on a movie called Being John Malkovich. It's an old movie with obviously John Malkovich. And so I just did a spoof on that and kind of just made fun of myself. And it was pretty, I don't know if it caught their attention or what it was, but it worked. Okay, well, you shared with me earlier on about the selection process. Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Yeah, definitely. So they start with 60,000 people, and then they must cut it down, whittle it down to about 1,000, and you go for an interview, then another interview, and then they bring the final about 48 people to Los Angeles, California, United States, and they basically put you in a hotel room, and they take personality tests, physical tests, photo shoots, all this stuff until they whittle it down to get to the final 16. And that's a phenomenal selection process to go through. Yeah, and it's pretty nerve-wracking because you never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to go next, what's going to happen next, and but that's all part of the journey. It is, and you said that you're not allowed to tell anybody. No, you're definitely not allowed. Can you share more of that and why? Yeah, well, because it's top secret. No one wants to know who's on the show and get that out to the public too early, and you can't tell anyone because, I told my mom and told my brothers, but other than that, you're sworn to secrecy. You sign a big contract about that big that won't let you tell anyone. And so you got to keep that secret inside you. Even when you come back from the game, no matter if you did good or bad, you can't tell a soul. One of the things that always, just when you mentioned coming back, one of the things that always intrigued me was, because there's a couple of months between when it ends and when we find out who won it, and everybody's put weight on again, they got clean shaven or not, and it's just amazing seeing the differences. Yeah, it is. I mean, because when you're on the show, you film it for 39 days, and then you come back, go back to your normal everyday life, and then the show starts to unfold over about 13 weeks on national television. And the final episode is live, either in Los Angeles or Los Angeles or New York City. So yeah, you have about 6 months to When I got back from the show, I was minus 32 pounds. I don't know what that is in kilos. But I lost 32 pounds, so obviously, I gained that back. And when you get to that final episode, there I am, just, normal, I guess. Well, you lost 32 pounds, so you go back into your life, and yet you can't tell people, I mean, they've got to go on Yeah, exactly. Because you have to make up some crazy. I said,
yeah.
oh, I'm traveling in Europe, because you just disappear.
You got dysentery, didn't you?
Exactly. I'm like, I was traveling in Europe, doing the, whatever hostile thing, and then all my friends, well, why are you so skinny? And I'm like, well, yeah, I had dysentery, And they're like, well, why are you so tan? And I'm like, well, they're like, I thought you were in Europe, and in like England or something. There's no sun in England, so I know. They kind of caught on.
That's a tricky thing, isn't
it?
it?
Yeah, it's pretty fun though.
Had to tell a few fibs. Well, okay, you had to tell a few fibs about what happened. How many fibs did you have to tell to win the game?
Yeah, I had to tell a few fibs. But the beauty about it is, if you can get someone else to tell the fibs for you, then you don't look as bad. And that was my strategy.
Can you share a little more about how you did that?
Well, my theory is, and I put everything into perspective of sports, everyone hates the head coach. Everyone loves the assistant coach. And I was the assistant coach out there. Okay. So basically, I had made a strong alliance with this guy, Lex, who had this guy covered in tattoos, spiky hair, and he was like a born leader, natural, A-type personality. So he wanted to be the one to, order people around or deliver the bad news, but we really made the decisions together. And so, I let him take that leadership role, and everyone, shoots the messenger, I guess, as the saying goes. And when it comes to the end, it's a game of relationships. So not only do you have to vote people off, you got to vote them off in such a way that when they come back, they like you enough to vote and give you the $1 million to win. So
we'll get on to the $1 million.
Yeah.
Before then, though, what was the toughest part of that 39 days?
The toughest part of the 39 days. I mean, for me, it was the mental aspect of the game, because every single thing you do has a consequence. You can't, even if I'm sitting to eat, dinner next to Lex, or if I go take a walk with Big Tom, everyone's watching you, and they're figuring out, oh, well, you have an alliance with him, or you're working with him. So you got a plan. You have to have an A plan, a B plan, and then you got to get a plan for each of those plans, because every single thing you do, people are watching you and wondering what it means, so you have to think. So that mental part of everything was the toughest for me.
How much paranoia comes into the game?
A lot. I mean, everyone's paranoid, because it's, you have to make friends with these people, and friendships based on trust, but you can't trust anyone. And so here you are, thinking, we're best friends, but you could be telling everyone you're best friends with them, and you could be lying to my face, or I could pretend, I could be anyone I wanted out there. I could be, a lawyer from California with 7 kids, and, I can be whoever I want. So I don't know if anyone's telling the truth, so the paranoia sets in. And then you're not eating, you're not drinking, you're not sleeping, which also adds to the whole formula.
Okay. Was there anybody, as one of the other survivors, that you truly connected with and had to kind of do the dirty on?
Well, I was able to make that kind of gap, that separation where, I mean, I was close friends with this guy Lex I was talking about, and this guy, goat farmer Big Tom. But we knew if we made it to the end, and all 3 of us are there, then then it's head to head, and it doesn't matter. And then it's just a game, once we get to that far. But that's all it is. The one thing I did realize, there's a lot of hype around the show Survivor, and I'm really excited that it won, and sometimes I still can't believe it. But I also realized that the whole thing is just a game, and that's all it is. It's just a game.
Just a game. We'll come back and find out more about the game, and also why you're on the Great Walk to Beijing. Stay with us.